And then there were 8 in each classification. Hello, everyone. Welcome into week 3 of the playoffs. Real football begins this week, and we're going to break everything down between all 6 classifications. We're really going to settle into Class A, Class 3A, and Class 4A. Those are the teams in our local area that we'll be covering, along with Jacob Hankins and Spencer Hutchinson. I'm James Collier. Happy to have you along with us here on Kool TV. Guys, again, not so much a total running clock week last week, but again, the first 2 weeks of the postseason kind of just get in the way. Now it's time to get into real football.
It's chalk. The first 2 weeks are usually chalk, and there wasn't any surprises last week. I think actually the only surprise I had was Lawrence County getting blown out of the water. I was the only one I missed last week. I thought the Dogs would really go down there and compete. Well, I was wrong. And I'm not putting a whole big bunch of stock in Bell County. I think they're a good football team. But I'm more shocked in how bad Lawrence County played. 41-6. Oh, gosh. There's just no excuse for that. There's something had to be wrong down in Log Mountain for it to be 41-6. I mean, Lawrence County only picked the worst game of the year to play their worst game. So
that's typically how it happens.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jacob, did you see anything last week that jumped out at you?
No, not really. I mean, I was surprised with how close how bad the Russell and Lloyd Memorial game looked, and then how it ended up. But that's another story.
Yeah, the Juggernauts were only juggers until they got to the last quarter, and then the Red Devils come away with the victory. Now, we're going to look at the RPIs for the 3 classifications we talk about, Class A, 3A, and 4A. And this includes the 8 teams that remain of each classification. Because after this week, the highest 4 ranked RPIs that remaining, they go 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3 for a right to go to Kroger Field. So let's jump right into this thing. So here is Class Single A. KCD is 1. Sayre is 2, Campbellsville 3, Raceland 4, Hazard 5, Newport Central Catholic 6, Newport 7th, Pikeville 8th. And guys, real quickly, you look at Pikeville and you're already chuckling when I get to that point, because we all know what a farce that Pikeville being an 8th really is.
Yeah, it's a bad day for somebody. And it's
a bad day for Sayre. Friday will be a bad day for Sayre. And I'm not saying they can't win. I just don't think they will. It's one of those things where those regular season games that you didn't really like to schedule, I guess. Pikeville's kind of in a scenario that Raceland's in. They play who will play them. And that's just the way it was. And sometimes the teams that will play you are not the teams that you want to play. For instance, LCA for Raceland and Fort Thomas Highlands. There's some 5A schools that don't want to play Fort Thomas Highlands. So, I finished first in the RPI, but my reward is the 3rd round. I get to play Pikeville, the defending 1A state champs. And by the way, they got their best player back in Brennan Anthony. So, I'll just make it short and sweet for you, James. Like I said last week, I would be shocked if Raceland and Pikeville didn't end up at Kroger Field. Now, I did, and I'm going to call out Greg Martin here. He said something in my group that I thought was interesting, and I bet that a lot of people from Raceland would not agree with this. He said, we want so-and-so to win so we don't have to play Pikeville. Why wouldn't you want to play Pikeville? You're either the bully or you run from the bully. Which one are you? Because I guarantee you those kids on that football team are tired of hearing Pikeville. Don't you think? I mean, my goodness.
100%.
Tired of hearing about it.
And here's the thing. I would say this. If you have to play Pikeville, play them on your home field.
Why would you not want to play them down at
You don't want to go to Kroger Field and play Pikeville. Feel like
that's not a good thing for Raceland.
You think about it, the last time in the playoffs that Raceland beat Pikeville was right here when they cut the goalpost down.
Yeah, and I can say that because I like Greg Martin. And that's the only reason why I can say that. Listen, you put those quotes on Facebook, they're public. No, but there's a lot of people that. Why would you, if you're a Raceland fan, why would you, as well as you've been playing, as good as the defense is, why would you want? Why would you not want to play Pikeville right now?
And here's the thing too, and that Mike Salmon says this every year. When you get to the last 8, it doesn't matter who you're playing. You're going to have to beat somebody to be somebody. So you're going to have to win it somewhere. You're going to have to beat Pikeville, Campbellsville, KCD, Sayre, whoever it is in front of you. You're going to have to go beat that team at some point.
Yeah, and if I'm Raceland, I don't care who I play, where I'm playing. If I think I'm that good, which Raceland has shown they're pretty good, man, then who cares? It don't matter if they played in Tennessee. It doesn't matter. Let them play right here in Raceland. You know, how does that not benefit Raceland? What good does it do you to go down and play at Kroger Field and play Pikeville again, who you've never beat on a neutral field, when you can play them right at home, and Bill Farley can get wild with a siren like he does, and there's just different things that you can really play into the factor there, man, and you get the blow up the inflatable they do, and maybe they even bring out the fireworks like they used to.
No, they're not going to
There's
burn
no
up
fireworks
a
this
turf
year?
field. We actually had somebody ask us about this. Why is there no more fireworks? I'm like, you have $1 million worth of turf sitting there. You're not going to launch fireworks off on turf.
Well, you have about $5 million worth of turf because you got the softball field and the baseball field on either end.
Well,
so.
but that's where they shoot them. Is they shoot them from the baseball and the softball field.
Yeah.
So, unless they bring something out that they like a trailer or something, they could set it off on it, something like that. But all right, let's dive into this. So here's what we've got: KCD, Newport, Campbellsville, Newport Central Catholic. Guys, do you smell an upset, or is it chalk across the board?
Chalk. It's chalk. KCD, Campbellsville win. But I do think that Pikeville goes to Sayre and wins. Obviously, I think
Hang on. We're not on that side of the bracket yet. Hang on.
You said Class 1A.
No, we're just talking about the West right now. We're the Wild Wild West.
Chalk, James. Chalk, James.
Jacob.
I don't know. I think both of them could be on upset watch, but I think they could still win. Like, I'm leaning heavily towards them, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did get upset.
I will say this: if I was going to pull that upset card, I lean a little bit towards Newport Central Catholic to do it,
and that's where
because they're a pretty good team. They're a pretty good team. Raceland saw them earlier the year, and they gave Raceland some problems. They didn't move the ball at all, but they play good defense. When you play good defense, it's going to keep you in the game till the fourth quarter.
Defense
and that was right
before
before Raceland made the switch to Waller as QB1. They were still kind of platooning at that point. But I was really impressed with that Newport Central Catholic team. That is the game. If I had to pick an upset out of the West, that's the one to pick.
Right. Yeah, me too. I still think that KCD.
All right. Yeah, I think KCD. I think they're playing really well. Newport, I'm not really seeing anything that makes them jump out at me.
Right.
I mean, we'll see what it is. On the East, Sayre, Pikeville, Raceland, Hazard. Any upsets here, guys? And again, I say upsets because
an upset.
Do we count Pikeville beating Sayre as an upset?
Record-wise, yes, you count it as an upset.
Well, if you ask the guys in the polls, absolutely. Especially the ones in the KSR poll. I believe I'm the only one who had Raceland and Pikeville at number 1 and number 2 in 1A. I can't believe that. What are we watching? Is this? I just don't understand. Are we watching two different things? I'm not taking anything away from Sayre, but Pikeville's been there. They've done it. And until Sayre wins one of those big games, James, and I'm not saying they're not capable, but they haven't. They have not done that yet. If they beat Pikeville's Friday night, then that changes my whole narrative on them.
100%. And here's the thing. Sayre's got to do one thing that they've not done a lot in big games, and that's play defense.
Stop the run.
And they're going to have to stop the run against a super run-heavy team when it wants to be in Pikeville. You saw what Raceland did last year when it went down there. They ran the football right down the throat, and they could not stop them.
Yeah, and this is just another Friday. This is. I'll say this. I know Sayre, they haven't had a football team for long, and if they had, it's not been a great one. This is the biggest game they have played probably in program history, James. If you get a win against Pikeville, Raceland probably have to go there next week, right?
Well, we'll talk about that in just a second. There's some options.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of options, actually.
Yeah, there's a bunch of
Raceland,
options.
though, easy. Hey, James, easy. Raceland easy. There's people in Hazard's going to go, look at this guy. He don't know what he's talking about. 48-7 knows what I'm talking about.
Now, let me explain something to you real quick, though. Don't get caught up in looking past because of what happened in this game in the regular season. Raceland easily passed Hazard 42-8. Hazard probably played its worst game of the season in that game. But if you dial back a couple of years ago, this same exact game, it took Raceland a fourth down plunge to seal the deal and a 17-14 win.
Yeah, I understand that. And the Hazards got that upset DNA. If you remember, they beat Pikeville at Pikeville a couple years ago when they had Blake Birchfield as a junior in that group, that spectacular group when I believe McNamee was a junior also. So that they know how to win. Those coaches know how to win these big games. But the problem is this Raceland team, they're just so good defensively. It's not one of those things where, I wonder if we're going to have to move the ball, a lot tonight. Is our offense going to click? You don't have to worry about that with Raceland because their defense will always keep them in the game. And with what I saw, a little bit of film I watched and a little bit of scouting that I did, yes, Hazard did play bad, James, but at the same time, it's tough to play good when you get the wind knocked out of you.
And a lot of the reason that Hazard played bad is because Raceland made them play that way.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And one thing I do need to say an apology to somebody. I was wrong about two things last week. One, Rockcastle County is a very good football team. Do I think they're better than Belfry? No, but I got to watch the tape on that one. They're very big up front. They run a really nice scheme. They're very well coached. That's a good football team, man. Definitely a top 5 team in 3A. Another thing is I said that East Carter didn't have the guys to win the line of scrimmage. East Carter won the line of scrimmage, but they lost the edges so badly that that's why the score got out of hand. And it's nobody's fault. That there was a lot of kids that came in that didn't have the experience, and they were dealing with injuries a lot. But I was super impressed. You wouldn't see it by the score with how the front seven and the offensive line played.
Listen, if you drive down I-75 anytime soon, you might want to take a detour around Rockcastle County just for a little bit.
I'll drive right through there. Hey, listen.
Big red X.
Listen, I'm from Westwood, buddy. I'll drive right through there, and I won't think twice about it.
Of course.
Westwood Mafia.
I love it. Okay, let's dive into these scenarios, and we'll start breaking some stuff down. Okay, first off, here are the win and stay home versus your lowest seed. So KCD, Cal, Boyle County, 1A, 3A, 4A. They win tomorrow night. They're staying at home for the semifinals, and they're going to play the lowest seeded team remaining from the RPI. That's where we are. Now, let's dive into this thing. Let's start with Raceland. The Rams could potentially get a 1 seed. They would need KCD, Campbellsville, and Sayre all to lose and take a win over Hazard. That would move the Rams into the 1 seed. They have 2 potentials of being a 2 seed. KCD or Campbellsville and a Sayre loss, and then they would host the winner of whoever defeated KCD or Campbellsville. The other one, KCD and Campbellsville to lose and Sayre to win, and then they would host Newport Central Catholic or Newport. That's the 3 options that keep the Rams at home on Black Friday. These next 3 put the Rams on the road. KCD, Campbellsville win, Sayre loses, they're headed to Campbellsville. KCD or Campbellsville lose, they'll go to Sayre and they'll play them as the second seed. And then the last thing, KCD, Campbellsville, Sayre all win. Rams are going to KCD on Black Friday. A lot of stuff to sort out of there, guys, but that's what's up in the air when we put this game in to play in Class A on Friday night. We've got a lot of different potentials that could come out of this.
I think the most probable one would be the KCD and Campbellsville win and Sayre loss. I think that's probably more than likely to happen. So if you're Raceland, prepare for a trip to Campbellsville, but watch out for the upsets.
Oh, well, I like all the scenarios that involve me not driving far from my house. So I'll always be in favor of that, and it lets Kool TV cover another game. I think that's important to note also. We can bring that broadcasting. I'm not saying that these games won't be broadcasted, they sure will, but they won't have the ESPNU broadcast that James does when he's got his students down on boxes down the field. He's got in-game huddle. I mean, he brings it right to you. I mean, he's got everything. No, there won't be no live looks because we ain't got any more teams alive. But I agree with what Jacob said. That's
Yeah.
more likely your scenario. But here's the thing, though. I don't think that anybody, and I'm gonna brag on Sayre for a little bit, and I know their schedule's not been great. I don't think that a team in 1A has scored more consistently than what Sayre has this year. And I think that they finally faced a little adversity Friday night when Paris climbed back into that game, tied it at 20,
Yes.
and then they put three quick touchdowns on the board. I think that says a lot. I know that Paris is an inconsistent football team, good football team, inconsistent, but I think that that shows a little character that's something maybe they didn't have a year ago.
And that was one of
That's
the
only the
questions we
second
asked.
time.
Could that team take a punch to the face and then stand up and respond? And they did. And a lot of it has to do with Pennington. That young man is phenomenal. He is going to have a stellar career at Dayton. I know his dad, Chad. I've talked with him several times at Marshall. I talked with him down there last year. Great guy. And what he has done for that football program there is second to none. And if Sayre would beat Pikeville, would it be considered an upset by many? Absolutely, because you're knocking off the three-time defending state champions. But again, it's not far-fetched to say that it's a possibility.
Like I said, if you're asking the people who vote in the KSR poll, like me, besides me, and the people that vote in the AP poll, that's expected, James. Sayre's supposed to win this game. It's tough to take off your glasses. Well,
Nope,
it's tough.
I didn't agree with them.
Well, here's the thing. Everybody puts a lot of stock in these Lexington and Louisville schools. Well, as far as 1A through 3A, Eastern Kentucky, look over the last 15 years, Eastern Kentucky's dominated. I mean, it just is what it is. It is what it is. Pikeville in 1A. In 2A, I guess Beechwood, that'd be Northern Kentucky,
Beechwood,
has
Mayfield.
dominated. Beechwood, Mayfield, but these are not teams in the Louisville or Lexington metro area.
Yeah.
You know, these are, and sometimes, you know, you get a lot of top heavy people that are voting on these polls who are just saying, oh, these are city teams. They have to be better. Well, until they take a trip and play Pikeville, who play smash mouth football like Belfry, John Central, teams like that. You know, it's just, I'm impressed with Sayre this year. But I would be shocked if they pulled it off. Not shocked. I would be surprised if they beat Pikeville. And truthfully, I'd be grateful. How about that?
All right. Well, since we're talking of Sayre, here we go. A number 1 seed with a win and a KCD loss. They are the number 2 team in the RPI. They're a 2nd seed with a win and a KCD win. So that would put them as number 2. Then it would determine what happens with Campbellsville of who they would play in that 3 spot. So not a lot of options for them. Win, 1 or 2 is what they're going to be.
Yeah. 1, 2, or go home.
Well, James, you know what's going to happen. I mean, you know what's going to happen. We're going to go to Campbellsville. That's just what's going to happen because it's more, I shouldn't say inconvenient, but Campbellsville's not right down the road. You know, I thought that I would get away from a football season where I didn't have to travel very far. And it seems like every day that passes, the Campbellsville on the iPhone maps keeps getting more and more likely. So I might actually take a detour and at least stop at Buc-ee's in Richmond. It's like
Buc-ee's,
20 minutes out of the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, so I'm not going to jump ahead of myself, but I would be shocked if we didn't see Pikeville and Raceland in the 1A title game.
Yeah.
I would be. I'd be
That's more
surprised.
likely what's going to happen.
All right. Well, since we're talking about Campbellsville, let's look at them. They've got 3 options. So they can move up to a 1 seed with a win and a KCD and a Sayre loss. They've got a 2 seed option with a win and a KCD win or a Sayre loss. And a 3 seed with a KCD win, a Sayre win, and they win. So 3 possible options there for Campbellsville. So, again, 2 of those put them at home. So that would certainly be where they want to go. 2 out of 3. That's a pretty good option.
I'm not impressed with Campbellsville. I'll just be honest with you. I look at their schedule, and yes, they've beaten some teams. They've beaten some terrible teams, is what they've beaten. They did beat KCD. That was their best win. No,
No,
they
they
lost to
lost to KC. They
KCD
lost to KCD
20 to
20-18.
18. So the only two teams they have played all year, besides maybe Somerset, who by the Somerset's what? Uh,
They're 2A.
yeah, but they've had an
They're
all
playing
right
in
year. They're
they're
down for
playing
them though.
Prestonsburg. They're playing Prestonsburg in the final 8.
Yeah, but 2A is so bad. It's a top heavy as could be. Um, mm, I'm not impressed. If Raceland and Campbellsville played this week, Raceland will be 2 touchdown favorites, no matter where they play at. Campbellsville, they haven't played the competition that Pikeville and Raceland played. I'm sitting here looking at Danville, who didn't win a game. Whitley County, terrible.
Casey
Metcalf,
County.
terrible. Casey County, not good. Owen County, not good. I'm not saying that this is manipulation by any means, but this is their schedule I'm reading. Ballard Memorial, not great. Hart County's a good team, but I think they're a good team. At least people in the poll think they're a good team. How about that?
They're still playing, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, well,
Not
they're
beating their
still
class.
playing.
All that matters.
21-14. They lost that game 20-18. They did give up 24 points to Russellville last week, 49-24 win. Russellville didn't have
You have to wonder,
real
though, how
great year.
late did those points come, though?
Yes.
Well, it doesn't matter, though. I mean, 24 points, though. They didn't come in one quarter.
Well, I mean, but was it 49-7 when they gave up the other 2 scores?
I doubt it. I'll be honest with you, James. I'm going to go ahead and say it, and Mike Sammons will kill me, and I don't care. I think this is the year Raceland wins it, man. The way that the defense is, this might be the best Rams defense that I've seen them have since I've been covering. They really just play fundamental defense. They open field tackle very well. Their front seven's very good. Their safeties for the most part, don't let anything get behind them. They're athletic. Lyndon Sammons is an animal.
Sammons had 3 sacks last week, and he took the Eminence front line and just made it look like a piece of Swiss cheese.
Well, he's kind of like the Cooper kid out of East Carter. There's not really been anybody to block him. They've kind of just managed him a little bit, and that's just only for a couple plays. But at the end of the day, he's going to get what he wants. And the linebacker play has been very good. And when you've added a guy in like Jonah Arnett, somebody that they really haven't had. Of course, they had Parker Fannin, who was a really good athlete, but he wasn't as versatile as far as what Mike has used Arnett. And what I mean, like when we were at Paris, one of those plays, James, was they lined him up in the tight end position and kind of reversed him on, crossed the field over, and nobody even picked him up. He was an eligible receiver. They put him in the backfield sometimes. I think that, and I think that, and people will get mad about this. I think the way that Coach Mike Sammons has changed the way that he's called plays has also been a key success for Raceland this year.
The other part of Raceland, too, is I think they get healthy this week. I'm not going to allude to that too much, but anybody out there knows kind of what I'm talking about. And that's certainly going to add to their depth at some certain positions, and that's going to be big. All right.
It's always good.
Anything else in 1A before we move on to 3A?
No. Listen, clip this. Spencer called it first. Raceland will win 1A state championship, and if they don't, you forget about it. And I don't care if you play it again. If Raceland doesn't win it, I want Pikeville to win it. How about that?
Oh God! Now you really
I
want to
keep it in Eastern Kentucky.
Yep, you're not banished from this.
His Twitter account is right there below his name, so feel free to.
I'd like to keep it in Eastern Kentucky, though.
Eastern Kentucky, but.
What do you all got against Pikeville?
Here's the thing. I will say this. I think the world of Chris McNamee, and I think what he does with his program down there at Pikeville is second to none. They do a really great job of it. And, I mean, every time that I've talked with Coach, win or lose, he's always been very respectful, easy to talk to.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, people like that,
I have nothing against
programs
Pikeville.
like that, you've got nothing bad to say about him.
Absolutely not. And he's a nice guy, man. And like I said, okay, when I was running EKA, and I still am, but I didn't know people didn't know me down there in Pikeville, and they call that the Fortress, man. People don't get in there and do interviews all the time. I mean, they do really they check who they let in and do that, and they let me come in and interview Coach McNamee and a couple of the players, and they were really respectful. I don't have a problem with Pikeville at all. Now Raceland's they have a problem with Pikeville because they've been whipping Raceland's rear end up and down the field the last 2 or 3 years. And I understand that, whatever, but that's kind of like why I hate Tennessee. 'Cause, it's just one of those things, that everybody has a scenario like that. But, but as far as a program, you can't say anything negative about Pikeville.
Yeah, they're kind of the class of the Class Single A, so for sure. All right, let's go to Class 3A. So we've already talked about if Cal wins, they're the 1 seed. They play at home next week. Let's go down the list. So first off, here is Class 3A. Cal 1, Bell 2, Hart County 3, Union County 4. They play each other. Belfry at 5, Central at 6 plays Cal in a rematch. Russell at 7, Lexington Catholic, the best 6-6 team in the entire state, regardless of classification. They're at 8th. Spencer, you're already shaking your head when I talk about late. It's like that 8th spot this year. Nobody wants to see that team that's going to be sitting there, especially in 1 and 3A.
Lexington Catholic's not a team that has a bunch of size, but man, they've got all the speed that you would ever want. They don't really need size when the quarterback releases the ball as quick as he does. They are very good at their strengths, and what I mean by their strengths, they like to get their speed in open space. They'll do swing passes. They really hurt East Carter with screen passes, especially the wide receiver. They didn't really run A or B gap the whole time, but they didn't have to. When you're able to throw it out to one of your big physical athletic wide receivers and he's able to make a couple of men miss and East Carter doesn't have anybody that can run them down, why would you not just do that all game? And that's what Lexington Catholic did. There was, that the linebackers for East Carter were kind of going outside the whole time. Lexington Catholic didn't run A, B, or C gap the whole night. So and they run a lot of tosses. They run a lot of buck sweeps out to the left or out to the right. They really abused the edges. They had watched the film that other teams had exposed East Carter a little bit about, and they really hurt the Raiders, hurt them bad. But going back to what you're saying, you want to do the West Side first? Is that what you're? We'll do
so
West
here we
Side
go.
first.
I think this is one of the best, if not the best, game of every classification in this game right here. Cal Central, the rematch. This time it's at Cal, and it's got a lot on the line.
Yeah, same city though, James. Central wins, and I think Central wins 3A. I think that they'll meet the Belfry Pirates there, though.
Yeah. We were talking before we got on air that they played earlier in the year, and it was a 20-point win for Central. So I think I got to take Central in this one.
I love Central's coach coming out. It was almost like, hey, I win. Google me. The quote that he put out there when he said,
yeah,
Louisville or 3A comes through downtown Louisville. And again, you got to wonder how this one's going to size up. But that one right there is going to be that is your 3A championship game right there. We saw this last year in 4A when you had Corbin and Boyle County that played in the regional round, and then the rest of the games were garbage in 4A. I think this right here could be your championship game.
I think agree with you there.
I think Central wins 3A, but I would not be surprised if Belfry beat them, man. That's a big matchup. Those teams match up really well. They're usually big and physical up front. They play good defense. The difference is Belfry's passing the ball now. And not only passing the ball, they're passing efficiently. So I think that adds a little wrinkle to them a little bit. Teams can't prepare. They can't load the box up and say, okay, either we'll stop them or we won't. It ain't like that no more. So I don't know, man. Belfry might have something to say about that, but I do lean Central's your favorite to win 3A.
Okay, Hart County, Union County. This is going to be a dandy as well. This is 3 versus 4. And Hart County is a team that you've kind of looked down on much of the year, but they're not a terrible team.
No, they're not terrible, but they've played a terrible schedule. They've played a bunch of teams no one's ever heard of, or at least around here. They haven't played a team of a caliber of a top 5 team in any classification except for maybe Campbellsville, and they played them. Campbellsville probably should have won the game. Hart County, I know their fans hate my guts, and that's fine. But I'm telling you, playing that week schedule, they've had a T-shirt season down
It
there,
doesn't prepare you for
James.
anything.
They've had a T-shirt season. They're 12-0 right now, and I'm sure they've had shirts made and whatever. But when you go against a team that's battle scars, got the scars, and their knuckles are scraped up, and their fingers are broken and stuff, and they're battle tested, then you're going to get beat. So
Like
I
Lex
don't.
Staff and Pikeville, they just load their schedule up for these type of games,
Yeah, the Lex Cast
and
schedule was brutal. Pikeville's schedule was brutal. So,
that's why they have so much success.
yeah, and I think Raceland's schedule was brutal, guys. Ashland's only in the final 8 of 4A. A lot of people are overlooking how good Ashland is. You kind of look at Ashland like, oh, they're the dominant team around here. Well, they're still a top 5 team in 4A too. I guess a lot of people around here don't look at Ashland like, oh, well, are they competitive downstate? Ashland's a good football team, man, and you had Fort Thomas Highlands in there. You played Pikeville in the regular season. Letcher Central's not slouch. So I think that the teams that loaded up their schedule and the coaches who don't care what their regular season record looks like will have the most success come late November and early December.
All right, bottom half of the bracket in Log Mountain, Bell County, Lexington Catholic. This is going to be a war.
That's going to be a good one. You know what? I'm not doubting the Bobcats anymore. I'm going to go Bell County. I think that what they did last week to Lawrence County really sent out a message, because I kind of thought that was going to be a close game, and I kind of thought that Lawrence County might pull it out. I know that everybody thought that, that had the potential to be a close game, but 42-6, nobody saw that coming. Lexington Catholic's a team that'll try to beat you with their speed, especially on the edges. They're very athletic. They're very well coached. But playing down in Log Mountain's a different animal. I'm going Bell County. Close Bell County.
See, I'm going to go the other way. I think Lexington Catholic wins this one by at least 10 points. I think their speed.
Whoa!
I think their speed is going to be too much, and you're going to see a team that lost their first 6 games go into the state Final Four. Now we all know what happens when I predict, right? You go put the house on everything else because it's going to lose for sure.
I think it's interesting you said that, because I think Belfry in the COVID year started the season 0-6 and won the state title.
Yeah,
and beat, I can't remember who they beat. Can't remember, but won the state title that year. So I think that, like I said, the teams that are not afraid of what their regular season schedule looks like. I'm not saying that anybody manipulated their schedule in any way, but Hart County, it's just people will disagree with them. They have not been tested like Central or Cal or Belfry, who put Pikeville, Johnson Central, and those other teams on their schedule. They haven't been tested. And Hart County is kind of in an area where they're pretty far from the heavyweights of 3A. This is not just right down the road for them either. So when Hart County, I believe, is in the far western part of the state, aren't they, James?
Yes.
Okay, so, besides Paducah down there and maybe an Owensboro Catholic, who you got down there that's just a powerhouse? Bowling Green? I mean,
well,
you got to put those teams on your schedule?
Just a second ago, it was 21 when Belfry won the state championship. They beat Paducah Tillman that year. It was a great game. 33-28 was your final.
Yeah. So, started the season 0-6.
Yeah, the 2020 season, they lost in the regional round to Ashland 10-3 in the Mud Bowl.
Yeah, I was at that game. That was a great game.
Fun.
Yeah, yes. That Ashland defense was probably the best defense I've ever seen from an area team.
Okay, Belfry Russell, do the Red Devils have a prayer in this game?
No, I don't think so.
Not a chance, James.
I don't think it's a running clock, but I think it's pretty close.
No, I think it's a running clock. I think Belfry wipes them off the face of this earth. I think this game's not going to be close at any point. I think Russell's had a great year. They're district champs. Nobody can take that away from them. They came the win they had last week over Lloyd Memorial. I said that says a lot about those kids. But Belfry, and I say this because I've seen them, and this is not going to be a case where I'm wrong. It may not be a running clock, but I think that Belfry's just way too much. You're going down to Pond Creek. It's going to snow during Thursday night, and it's going to be nasty. That field. I know it's new turf, but man, it's going to be
slick.
5 to 10 degrees colder down there than what it is in Flatwoods. It's a different animal under the lights down there at Haywood Stadium down there in between the hills. That place is going to be rocking, and Russell's going to be in for it, man. Those lots. See, what makes Belfry so good, James, is their linemen are, and I don't know who coaches their linemen. It may be Coach Haywood. Their linemen are able to get to the second level so fast before the linebackers can even know where the ball's at. And with Belfry passing the ball, and they still kind of do that triple option where they can hand it to the fullback, they'll head off the left or right in and flick it out to a running back who, by the way, he's probably the fastest kid on the field anyways. They're just such a hard team to defend, and I just don't think Russell cannot do that. They're just not built for that. Russell will get beat, but that doesn't mean they didn't have a great year. Belfry moves on, and I think they move on easy.
So Chase Varney, 1,192 yards, 12 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions, throwing about 108 yards a game. Jeremiah Austin, 178 carries for 1,368 yards, 14 touchdowns. J.B. Willems scored 16. Ace Cottle has added 10. They're averaging running for 260 a night. Guys, you put that together, I'll do some quick math for you. That's 265 a night. Or 365 a night, excuse me.
Yeah, and that's on a bad night. And you got to think of their schedule they played, too. They beat Pikeville pretty easy, James, at Pikeville. Them and Johnson Central played a Big 12 shootout. It might as well have been TCU and Oklahoma State down the field. I think it was a 55-51 game or something like that.
48-41.
48-41, and neither team stopped each other the whole night, probably. Who knows? But John Central had to score. They were tied very, very late into that game. John Central had to go on a long drive to tie that game and win it, or to win that game. And we know how good John Central is. They all but beat Ashland at Putnam Stadium, which we all are very high on Ashland.
All right, let's run through the scenarios for Class 3A. We start first with the Cats. They're a 1 seed with a win and a Cal loss, a 2 seed with a win and a Cal win. So that's their 2 options. Win in your home, no matter what, you're either going to be the 1 or 2 seed on Black Friday.
Now, are we talking about the Bobcats of Bell County?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, James, listen, and I'll say this. Their coach is probably a guy that you could put on the Mount Rushmore of coaching as far as Eastern Kentucky history. You got Philip Haywood up there as well, and Ivan McGlone. So when you think about that, he's got a home game, a home regional championship game. By the way, he won the regional championship game on his home field last year in overtime. I know that they don't have the nation's leading rusher, but does that make him more dangerous? Do they look for other places to kind of make up that gap? Did they flex their muscles for the first time last week against James? Lawrence County had a good team, man. Lawrence County was not a bad football team at all. Went up and put it all over Mason County, who, by the way, eliminated Greenup. And I talked to some people who I talked to Travis Skaggs, actually, and he told me, he said, Mason County didn't sit nobody. We just got whipped. And for Bell County to do that to Lawrence County, man, I don't – that's surprising. I think Bell County is sitting in the driver's seat right now, James.
Here's something that really jumped out at me about Bell County. The fact of you had Mr. Football, Daniel Thomas, last year.
Right.
You come a year later, 1 year after this guy's gone, and you got a guy named Caleb Miller. He's rushed for almost 2,000 yards and 28 touchdowns. He's averaging 162 a game. So whatever's in the water on Log Mountain, it's working.
I'll tell you what's in the water. Gravy for them hogs up front, son. They need to start giving some love to the big linemen up front. Running backs are, I'm not saying the running back's not great, but somebody's got to block for him. And apparently the blocking's been pretty good over the last couple of years. So, I think that if them and Belfry got together, you want to talk about a big boy football game. That'd be a big boy football game.
Smash mouth football.
Listen, there would be
first 1 to 10 might win that one.
Oh my goodness, that'd be like an old Iron Bowl, wouldn't it? My goodness, I might have to make the draft for that one.
Hart County can be a 1 seed with a win and a Cal and Bell County loss. They've got 2 options as a 2 seed: win, a Cal loss, or a Bell win, or flip those 2 around. They fall to a 3 seed if Cal and Bell both win, and then they would go to Bell County in the Final Four. Now, for Union, same exact scenario. Because, again, we're talking about 3 versus 4 here. A win, Cal and Bell County lost, they're the 1 seed. A 2 seed with a win, a Cal win or a Cal loss with a Bell win or a Cal loss, that goes there. They're a 3 seed if Bell and Cal win, and they win over Hart County. So there's your scenarios for the 2 versus 3, basically. And then on the bottom half here, Belfry's got 2 options. They're a 2 seed with a win and a Cal and Bell County loss. They're a 3 seed with a win and a Cal loss or Bell County win. So that's where Belfry sits as we look at 3A, which is not really convoluted too much. You kind of know what everybody's going to do. The thing that would really shake things up is if Central would get that win over Cal, because where Central sits in the RPI. And then, of course, Lex Cath at 8 would just jam everything up.
So from my understanding, James, so if Central were to win and Bell County were to win, in the semi-state championship game, you might have Central traveling to Log Mountain.
Let's look at it.
Goodness.
So here we go. If Central beats Cal and Lex Cath beats Bell County, then Hart County, Union County would be your 1 seed, whoever wins that game. If Belfry beats Russell, they would be the 2. So then Central would go to Belfry, and Lex Cath would go to the winner of Hart or Union County.
Central at Belfry, James, that's the stuff dreams are made of. Let me tell you something.
That is Black Friday memories forever.
That is like I say a lot, that is a real big boy football game. If you ever wanted to go watch a heck of a high school football game, Louisville Central versus Belfry the day after Thanksgiving, and you know it's going to be cold and nasty, and both those teams love to run the football, man. Oh, boy.
Yeah. It might be a sin that it's not on the carpet.
And, we've said this year we felt like that 3A was probably going to be the most competitive once we got to this round going into the state championship.
Yeah, and I think that I don't want that to happen, James, because I want to be able to watch that game. Because Belfry doesn't allow any streaming. I'm not against it. I don't personally care. It doesn't affect me. But I don't want to miss that game because I'm anticipating Raceland to win. And if Raceland wins, you know where I'm going to be at. So, I'll
be there regardless.
You know what I mean? I need to see that game. You know what I'm saying?
I need to get somebody to get a pirated iPhone in there to get a mini screen so you can see something as you're watching the game.
Well, I think that they have a YouTube page set up, Pirate Sports Network. But I don't know if they're willing to pay now. I don't know what the fee is now. But when I streamed East Carter Belfry a couple of years ago in the semi-state championship game, I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know.
He's got some emojis going on, man.
Dude, there's ghosts in the house.
He's already talking about stuff. He's making fireworks right out of the gate. We're not even there yet.
I'm telling you, if I would love to see that game, because usually your 1A is at noon on Friday, correct, at Kroger Field.
Yes.
And then 3A is the same day, or is it 5A? I can't remember.
No, it's 2A and 4A, and then 2, 5, and 6. And it may go 2, 6, and 5, something like that.
But I would still be able to watch it. I don't want that game to happen and I can't watch it. I want to be able to watch that game. And it's tough to watch them on a Friday when Raceland's playing. You know what I mean? So I want to be able to sit in my house and nobody talk so I can watch it. So
lock yourself in a room and watch football.
Yes.
Yeah, man, that'd be a heck of a game.
All right, let's jump into 4A. So here's the top 8 statewide. Boyle County number 1, Franklin County number 2, Paducah Tillman 3. All 3 of those undefeated. Corbin is at 4th, Ashland 5th, both at 11-1. Cuffcath is 6th at 10-2. DeSales and Bardstown at 7 and 8. Now, here's the way it sets up. In the West, Franklin County and Bardstown. Paducah Tillman, DeSales. I'll say it right here. Chalk, 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 chalk. Give me Franklin County and Paducah Tillman to easily go into the next round.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree too.
I really don't have anything to say about it, James. I agree.
Yeah, we all know what's going to happen. Spencer's getting ready to say it's not if you play Belfort or Boyle County, it's win.
Yeah.
Well, for
Yeah.
Ashland, it's not, because I think they lose to Friday night. So
Well, all right, so let's dig into that bottom half of that bracket. Boyle County, Covington Catholic, Corbin, Ashland. Boyle a little off last week. They got things going finally after Letcher, maybe kept it a game for about a quarter. But Boyle does what Boyle does, and they just ease through 47-6. Can Covington Catholic keep this one in reach?
no,
I don't think so.
absolutely not.
Okay.
Boyle County is not top 25 in the nation for nothing.
Yeah, I agree there. I think that one's at least a 2-touchdown victory. All right,
I
bottom
think
half. Corbin, Ashland. Guys, there's a lot of stuff going on with this one. There's a lot of potential out there for this. This could be a great football game. It could be a blowout on both sides.
I don't think it's in between.
But no, I don't think it is either. We're either going to see a blowout or we're going to
Or a
see
very
a last
close game.
drive that's going to win this football game.
Well, all week I was leaning towards Ashland to win this game, and so last week we talked about it. That matchup favors Ashland, but with what I've been told from certain people, I lean heavily towards Corbin now, especially with the developments. But I think Corbin wins. A lot of people are talking about the officiating. The officiating comes from out of the area, so you don't have to worry about that.
Regions, you're not getting the same
Right.
officiating that they've had all season. So
Corbin has that old school Friday night feel, man, where everybody feels the stands. They've got tremendous school pride. Ashland has to get on the bus, and that's not a short drive. They have to go all the way to Lexington down 75 South. I'm sure the weather won't be good. It'll be cold. Ashland's a really good football team. Corbin is a team that can hurt you multiple different ways, and you saw that with their win at Johnson Central earlier this year. So I lean a little towards Corbin. I don't think it's a blowout, guys. Ashland's too good.
I don't think it's a blowout either. I think
Ashland's too good, man.
yeah,
I think
That it won't be a blowout, but I do think it'll be a touchdown or two, Corbin.
I think maybe
Well-
probably 10 if I had to take
I
a guess. My guess would be probably 10
I think it's
points
10 or under for sure. Kate
Yeah.
Elam is as good as advertised. Okay, you're
Yeah.
going to see two of the best quarterbacks in 4A square off between him and Bryce Strader. Elam's line
Yes.
this year, 3,044 yards. Or, sorry, 3,144 yards, 38 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And
Yeah,
Luke
yeah.
Salmons, I knew him when he was at Campbell Midland up in West Virginia. Phenomenal guy up there. Really glad to see him doing great things in Class 4A. On the backside of that, when you look at Ashland and what Chad Tackett has done after taking over with Tony Love, I love Chad to death. I think he's a great dude. I think he's doing a phenomenal job there. And he has a phenomenal quarterback in Bryant Schrader. Probably one of the most high IQ guys that you will see in the classification across the state.
Yeah, he is very smart with the football. He doesn't force anything he needs to.
4 picks
just-
all year.
He takes care of the football. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, 2 of those came in one game.
Yes, it did.
I think it came in the Harvest Prep game. He threw 2 interceptions, and then that's it. He's thrown 2 more
Well,
since.
I wouldn't be surprised if Ashland won this game, though, guys. I think that Ashland's good enough to do it, man. It's just it seems almost disbelievable to imagine Ashland going down there and winning, because we're used to the Corbin of the past. This is not a Corbin team that's as good as they were last year, and Ashland's probably a little bit better than they were a year ago. I think that a lot of the names that Duckweiler's played good for them. Ashby, kids that don't get a lot of recognition. Cam Davis, of course, Braxton Jennings. I wouldn't be surprised if Ashland went down there and win, but as it is, I still think I give Corbin an advantage, because I think that they have multiple different ways they can score. I'm not saying Ashland doesn't, but I think that Corbin, their teeth are a little bit sharper when it comes to that. So I lean a little towards Corbin, and I think it wouldn't surprise me if it was just a one-score game.
All right, let's run through the scenarios. All right, so for Franklin County, real simple. If Boyle County loses, they win, they're the 1 seed. If they win, Boyle wins, they're the 2. Pretty straightforward. For Paducah Tillman, a 1 seed with a win and a Boyle and Franklin County loss. a 2 seed with a win, a Boyle win, and a Franklin County loss, a 3 seed with a win, a Boyle, and a Franklin County win. So Paducah Tillman, guys, this is a team that in the AP polls, there were 16 of us that voted. Every week, 15 voted for Boyle County. One person voted for Paducah Tillman as number one the entire season. You know where that came out of. But, of course, most would love to see this Boyle County Paducah Tillman team because this Paducah Tillman team is really, really good.
Yeah, whoever voted for Paducah Tillman don't need to have a vote anymore. That's just what it is. That's more of wishing. This is not a Disney movie, son. This is Boyle County, and I know Paducah Tillman's very good, but James, if you look at their schedule, they haven't played anybody impressive. They haven't played the schedule Boyle County has. They haven't.
That comes from their location.
Well, but look where Boyle County's at. They didn't have no problem getting to St. Edwards, Ohio.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I'm not going to say it because Jacob will say something, but I think Boyle County is easy. James, this is the most cut class of them all. Boyle County might running clock everybody in the playoffs. Boyle County, easy.
Paducah Tillman, Jack James, their quarterback, 52 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He's thrown for over 3,400 yards this season. The backside of this, they average less than 140 yards on the ground a game. And that, when you get into the postseason, is something that you have to be concerned about.
Oh, it is. I mean, eventually they're going to have to start running the ball.
You have to run the football.
Well, they're going to get in a game where they're going to have to. And I'm not saying they can't. Maybe they just haven't had to. Like I said, their schedule hasn't been great. Paducah Tillman's always been a really good football program, just a sports powerhouse, really. So, but Boyle County, guys, that's just a different animal. They've really put it in a different gear over the past 5 seasons, and I think we have a local team that knows that better than anybody, Johnson Central. So, Boyle County, guys, just it almost seems like a waste of time to talk about 4A, and that's really a shame because there's so many good teams in 4A.
and we hate to beat a dead horse to death, but again, this is a bad year, another bad year to be a good team in 4A.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a very bad year.
Here we go with Corbin. They're a 1 seed with a win and a Boyle County, Franklin County, Paducah Tillman loss. If all 3 of those happens, you better go play the lottery. Number 2 seed with a Boyle County and a Franklin County loss and a Paducah Tillman win. A 3 seed with a Boyle County win and a loss by Franklin County or Paducah Tillman. They're the 4 seed with a Boyle County, Franklin County, Paducah Tillman win. So that's where Corbin sits up with a victory over the Tomcats. Now, last, for Ashland, they can get a 1 seed. With a Boyle County, Franklin County, Paducah Tillman loss and a win over Corbin, the Tomcats would be a 1 seed. A 2 seed with a Boyle County win and a Franklin County and Paducah Tillman loss. A 3 seed with a Boyle County win and a Franklin or Paducah Tillman loss. And a 4 seed if Boyle, Franklin, and Paducah Tillman all win out. So kind of a lot of what Corbin sits in the same position there because they're sitting right behind each other of what's up for the Tomcats. But more than likely, if you do win over Corbin, you're going to play Boyle County next week.
Yeah, that's your reward. Yeah, you can go play.
That may be the worst reward of any of the 6 classifications.
Yeah.
Well, I talked to a lot of these Ashland people, and I think a lot of them share the same attitude. The same philosophy is they want to see how they stack up against some of these teams. Are you sure about that? You don't really want to. You kind of want to end the season on a good note, and you don't want to get running clocks. Listen, guys, I know that you guys have had a great year. I know that Ashland has always been a traditional powerhouse. But you have nothing for Boyle County. Nothing. Not anything. Every single position you have on the field, Boyle County's better in. They don't have a position that is a mismatch for Boyle County. And that's what it is.
You could take Boyle County, put them into a computer simulation against every top team in every classification across the state of Kentucky, run it every game 100 times, and I guarantee you Boyle County wins 95% of those matchups.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I should win 100.
So, all right. So first off, This is research. This is what all of this come from. This isn't just
Is that what
stuff
you're
we're
doing
throwing
when
out
you're
there.
supposed to be teaching?
Listen, I teach my butt off. You shut your mouth, man. Shut your mouth. You and that Russell junk behind you there. Your little Russell K talking about Belfry. Ivan McClone is looking down up you right now. He's very angry. You not standing up for your
No,
Red Devils.
he's not.
We're agreeing.
No, he's not. He's angry about a lot of things, but that's not one of them.
All right, guys. As we get ready to wrap things up, again, next week we'll take you into a little bit of Turkey Day, and we talk about Black Friday football. That's when things really get fun around the state of Kentucky. But we're going to see some really good football games this week. And again, nothing against 2A, 5A, and 6A. It's just not areas that we cover a lot in the state. All of our teams are gone, and there's no reason for us to sit here and talk about it because, again, we're not going to be able to go in depth as what we are with what we can with 1, 3, and 4.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it makes it really tough.
You don't really get to see those teams. You don't get to see 5A. I think Cooper's kind of the runaway favorite in that classification. Trinity, really, the water's cleared for them 6A on Friday night.
Now, how crazy did 6A turn up to last week?
Holy cow!
Ryle County, Ryle beating St. X as bad as they did. That was kind of surprising.
I couldn't believe it. And then Manual lost, and then a couple other teams lost, and it's almost like it was a perfect night for Trinity.
Here's a game, not to jump into too much, but real quickly. In Class 2A, here's where they are. Owensboro Catholic, Monroe County. Owensboro Catholic, easy in this one. This game here is the one I've got marked. Mayfield LCA. That one's going to be a war.
LCA.
I don't know. I don't know any of them. So.
Oh, it's at Mayfield. Hang on a minute.
Yeah, it's at Mayfield.
Hang on a minute. Let me do my quick Spencer Hutchinson.
While you're looking at that, Beechwood, Martin County. I think Beechwood easily in that. Prestonsburg and Somerset. I like the Black Cats to go to the Final Four. I think their season ends there, but I think Prestonsburg has had a really good season, and they're going to get rewarded with a trip to the Final Four.
Yeah, Mayfield started out the season 2-3, and they really haven't played a tremendously tough schedule. Not nothing like what Lexington Christians played. You look at Lexington Christian's schedule. Oh boy, they started out the season with
Franklin County,
Boyle
County. That's it.
Yeah, and they barely 39-33 to Franklin County, but
they played Boyle County decently close. I mean, it wasn't. It's probably a lot closer than it should have been.
But look at the Raceland and Pikeville scores here on this schedule, man. Those are close games. They beat up on Lexington Catholic pretty good, 3 touchdowns, but
and a lot of those Pikeville points came late too.
Yeah, I'm going to go Lexington Christian still, though, man. I think they're too much for Mayfield. Mayfield, of course, they're defending 2A state champion, but I'm going to go Mayfield. I mean,
Doug
LCA,
Charles has got a phenomenal program down there. They've got some super guys. Their quarterback is probably one of the fastest guys I've ever seen with the way that he moves with the football. And he can do the RPO better than anybody that you'll watch out there right now. He is phenomenal.
I'll go a step further since we're talking about 2A. James, if Owensboro Catholic, bless their hearts, if they don't win it this year, when are they ever going to do it, man? Because what was it back in like 04, 03, 04, and 05, they were in a state championship game every single year, and they lost to Belfry twice, Russell to once, and then they were in it last year. They lost to Mayfield, and they've probably got the best team in 2A this year. So it's kind of like one of those things where if they don't get it done this year, boys, when are they going to get it done?
It's always on the doorstep. You got to find a way to get across it one time or another. So can that happen? We'll see it here for this week. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this week. Next week, we'll bring you Thanksgiving Day predictions as we'll get you ready for the Final Four. And who
I got a prediction for Thanksgiving
is coming up for the trips to Kroger Field. First off, before we get going, though, go ahead, Spencer. What's your predictions for Thanksgiving?
I'm definitely going to tear up some broccoli casserole and some mashed potatoes. Not mashed potatoes, but corn and green beans.
So let's do this real quick so we wrap this in. Spencer, what's your go-to for Thanksgiving? One side, what is it?
You know what? I think broccoli casserole.
Okay. Jacob?
I think that's my favorite.
You know, I'm a picky eater. Mashed potatoes, probably.
Only
I'm
chicken
surprised
nuggets.
he even does that. Me, it's sweet potato casserole.
Oh no,
Oh
James,
my gosh,
no,
man.
no,
Now you
no.
now, listen, hang on. Time out here for just a, now. You know my wife's baked beans.
Oh boy, yes I do.
If I had to pick between my wife's baked beans and sweet potato casserole, I'm taking the casserole because it is a side that sits by itself. It's phenomenal.
My good, and I've seen pictures of James when he eats these sweet potatoes. He's got enough brown sugar in there to make no bake cookies. Uh, yeah, I mean it's that thick in that potato. You just had brown sugar with a side of potatoes. What you had?
That's right. That's the way you eat them.
Yeah.
Put that marshmallow on it, some little Karo syrup in there. Just make it all goodness. But I'm making 4 turkeys for Thanksgiving. We're gonna make 2 in the smoker. I'm gonna do 1 this year with some flavored jelly stuffed inside of it. So, man, I'm just
The idea is
James, why do you need 4 turkeys, dude?
why not?
why not?
That's the question.
Yeah, why not?
You making it for everybody?
Well, so everybody comes to our house. So both families come to our house. And the one thing that happened about 4 or 5 years ago, we ran out of turkey on Friday for leftovers. We had like 6,000 containers of sides and no freaking turkey. So I'm like, okay, I'm not running out of turkey. So now I have as much turkey as I need, and I run out of sides first.
Yeah.
I think you should go 50% turkey, 2 turkeys, 2 hams.
Now, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to do 2 turkeys, and I'm going pork tenderloin.
Oh yeah, James makes a really good pork tenderloin. But
Yes,
let me tell you a story. This is so funny. We were doing, I think it was a fantasy football draft over at James's one time. And he had smoked, man. He put a lot of hard work into these pork tenderloins, man. They were good. And there was one that hadn't been eaten yet. His dog jumped up on the counter and ate the whole thing.
I remember that. Cooper tore that one. I mean, it was sliced and everything. It was glazed. It was ready to go. He put that thing away in about 40 seconds.
Yeah. He knew what he was doing. He didn't care. He was willing to accept the punishment. He didn't care.
Yeah. He was getting shammed for the night to eat that tenderloin. He'd been smelling it all day long.
Oh, man. He wasn't
all right.
playing
Well,
around.
Guys, enjoy the weekend. Happy Thanksgiving to you guys as we get ready to go into it. Again, we'll have a Thanksgiving show next Thursday that will we'll break down everything in the Final Four. We'll make our picks of who we think are going to go into the state championship games then. And then we will do a live show as we'll make our picks for the state championship. We'll even take your feedback in the chat box and everything, but we'll do a live show going into the state championship. We'll make our 6 picks across all classifications right here on Kool TV.
I said we get the green screen.
I'm used to doing a live show, James. This is the first time last year with Ben Spicer and you was the first time I'd ever done recorded shows. So
yeah,
I've went into live mode. What I mean by that is I know what I can say and what I can't. You know.
Yeah, he doesn't worry too much about it whenever we get him on these recorded shows. You know, we can always we can edit that out.
You haven't had to edit me yet.
Nothing yet. Everything has been straight across. And you can tell about that because you've got the ticker across the bottom of the screen. Right. And it never jumps or anything. So,
right. I'm waiting on that.
Yeah. Guys, that's it for this week. Thanks for tuning in. Again, if it's your first time here with us on the channel, hit that subscribe button. Hit that thumbs up. Give us a thumbs up if you see something you like. Hey, there you go right there. And hit that subscribe button. We'll alert you each time we put out new material. For Jacob Hankins, Spencer Hutchin, I'm James Collier. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week right here on Kool TV.